We got one midweeker out of the way. It's a good one, right? You got Creighton next week and Kansas again. We're gonna put that to the back burner. You got to go Iowa, Northwestern coming up in conference. Or can we lay this out? I mean, they're all must wins now, right?
Well, you got to start winning some conference games. I mean, that's kind of worth what the math is at this point. You've got it's interesting when you look at the schedule for Nebraska on the back half of things. Iowa coming up this weekend is the final series that Nebraska has in Big Ten play against a team that's in the top half of the standings. Like it opens considerably, and the win over Kansas, that was a big one. I mean that was a Kansas team that you know you're like, okay, Nebraska's going to go and kind of try to pass the bucket here against an offense that's hit 70 plus home runs already this year and is basically playing like beer league softball in the Big 12. And for the most part, Nebraska walked a ton of guys, which I'm sure Rob Childress didn't appreciate, but they were able to get out of innings. They made some big pitches. And, I think overall you just need you've just been waiting for longer stretches of good baseball from this team, and it's shown up when they've played ranked opponents. When the name on the jersey across the diamond is something, it kind of gets the blood going a little bit. And now you got to start doing it on the weekends, and it's a different challenge on the weekends. I mean, Will Walsh has been good on Fridays, but they're still trying to get some depth in their starts from Horn and Brockett. And I mean, they've only made it through the fifth 3 times this year. So that's a hard way to live. And, one way that you can kind of get around that is if you've got a lineup that can slug a little bit. And it feels like they're starting to do that a little bit. So that's a positive sign. But, this weekend against Iowa is a big one. And then you got to start, racking up the wins on weekends and winning series. So, as much as the midweeks are really important and there's a ton of RPI opportunities still on the schedule for Nebraska, you're going to have to start winning on the weekends, or else it's going to be you're really kind of putting yourself behind the 8 ball about getting to Omaha.
Yeah, I mean that's the only goal at this point, right? Because like an at-large is not in the cards. You have to get to the Big Ten tournament. Is that kind of where you're at mentally?
Well, I mean, Nebraska's in the mid 70s right now in the RPI. I mean, it's not out of bounds that they would get that they could, if they get on a run here, that they could get up into at least the territory where you're having conversations about at large bids. I mean, it's going
Yeah,
to
I don't
be
think that's a reach. I agree with you.
Okay.
the resume would look really funky though, considering that you would have multiple top 25 wins. Your RPI is going to be great. I mean, you'd be putting yourself in a position where the committee would be like, okay, they scheduled hard, they won those games, but what about these games over here? So you just got to start winning games. I mean, regardless of who it's against. And I think that's been the frustrating thing, is that you've started to see signs of things turning at the plate, but you just have not seen it over a stretch of, 2-3 weeks. And that's what's been lacking. I mean, the last 2 weeks, you beat number 5 Oregon State at home. You lose the 2 midweeks to in-state. You beat a really good Kansas team. You take a series from Rutgers at home, and probably should have swept that series. So it's a tough team to kind of wrap your arms around right now, and it's a I keep saying this. It's a bit of a no ceiling, no floor team right now, and that's kind of a scary thing week to week.
So, the way you kind of, I'm interested. Are you more surprised at the fact that the offense has lacked its such consistency, or that the pitching hasn't shown near the depth that we thought it may, looking at it on paper when the season started?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the conversation shifted since the basically the middle of the California trip. I mean, that's when you've seen the offensive turnaround. You've seen guys that you hoped would start to hit. I mean, Max Butenbach was 107, 108 off the bat
Boy,
against
when he
Kansas. I
turns
mean,
it around, it is. I don't know if it's that he's left-handed. It is.
yeah,
It is pretty.
yeah. I mean, those were screamers. And I mean, Ty Stone hits on 110 that the first baseman for Kansas somehow gets in front of. They're hitting the ball fairly well. I think the surprise has been, just the inconsistency with just throwing strikes. I mean, if you're if you're pitching for Rob Childress, I mean, there's no question about what the expectation is. It's you throw strike one and you flood in the zone. And the last couple of weeks, that's been the challenge is just, avoiding innings that are largely just kind of self-inflicted wounds. A bad walk takes a 1-run inning into a 3-run inning, and then the offense is finally getting to the point where they're responding a little bit. So I the pitching piece of it too, I think I initially didn't appreciate how much of a loss Mason McConaughey was, and it's kind of like, oh well, of course you lose an All-American on Friday night, that's a big loss. But when you kind of start looking at what the results of that are down the road, I mean, you are getting a really good version of Will Walsh right now. But if you've got Will Walsh on Saturday versus Friday, I mean, your weekends look a heck of a lot different. You've got a different guy going on midweeks. You're setting up your bullpen differently. I mean, I think an important piece is, you're probably getting Tucker Timmerman back in the bullpen this week against Iowa. And just apart from what he can do as a pitcher, he's just kind of one of those guys that you need in there for the attitude. I mean, that's what he brings in addition to everything else. So, maybe they can turn it around, but I think the throwing strikes piece of it has been a little bit surprising, especially given, the success they had with that last year. I mean, they've strived for a 3-to-1 ratio. They hit that last year. I mean, they've got a ton of work to do over the last back half of the season here if they're going to even get close to that this year.
Bruntz, the throwing strikes part of it is always funny to me because I don't necessarily look at that as a talent issue for the most part. Maybe it is more than I give it credit for, but it also, I look and I'm like, okay, I think really highly of Rob Childress as a pitching coach and as a baseball guy. And you mentioned last year wasn't really an issue, and you've got a lot of the same cast of characters. Like, what do you attribute that to? Is it just this weird aberration, kind of like we think they have a lot of good hitters that weren't really hitting well, or like what do you chalk that up to? It's a very strange phenomenon this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. I mean, I think part of it is
He was due.
What's that?
Ravi was due.
Yeah. He kind of knocked one through got the bat out there and knocked one through.
I'm all
I think part of it is this. I think part of it is this. I think whenever you're like, think back to last year. I mean, you had Sears that was almost like a guaranteed 7 innings on Friday nights. McConaughey was going to get you into the 6th or the 7th. And, Sunday you could kind of piece it together a little bit and figure it out. You're relying a lot more on your bullpen now. You're bringing guys in tight spots, tighter spots. You're bringing in younger guys in tighter spots. And I think that's sometimes not a recipe for success in terms of throwing strikes. I agree with that. I don't think it's a talent issue. I do wonder if it's at times you've been putting guys into games where it's not above the pay grade, but guys need to get a little bit more comfortable coming in with a couple runners on base. And you've seen them turn to the freshmen on the staff a little bit more than what they did a year ago. So I think that's a piece of it. I mean, I think a lot of their issues would be maybe not solved, but helped quite a bit if you could just start getting more consistent starts behind Walsh on the weekends. I mean, I think that to me has been the biggest thing. And I mean, Will Bolt wasn't shy about masking his frustration with that on Sunday last weekend. I mean, it's just really tough if you're having to go to your bullpen in the 5th inning every week or every game.
Bruntz, how about it's the mental component, or like, being able to pump strikes or whatever? We just assume, right, that the rotations or the roles are well defined enough where guys can settle in, because it does seem a little mismatchy sometimes on the weekends, and I get it. Sometimes it happens fast, and you've got to go to the bullpen. But Do you feel good about guys knowing their roles where they can kind of settle in, or do you feel like it's been so inconsistent? It's like, all right, let's try this.
Yeah, I think with certain guys they figured it out. Like they want Christo coming in after Walsh, on Friday. It's like basically the first 2 games of the Rutgers series played out exactly how they would have wanted to line it up from a pitching perspective. And Sundays are where it gets a little hairy. I mean, you're either having to go back to Christo on Sunday, which they've done, or you're trotting out some younger guys. I mean, I do wonder if there's, based on kind of what guys have shown, if you're going to see a bigger role for a guy like Casey Dice, who's been very good, but not thrown a ton this year. You get Timmerman back. That helps a lot. I mean, I think he was probably in that group with Worthley and Christo as kind of their kind of fireman type arm. So
I thought early on with Dice, he may settle into a big role this season.
They have
He's
started,
certainly capable.
yeah, and he doesn't get hit hard. He is kind of a different pitcher than he was last year when they were going to try to close him. So I mean, he might be a better option on the weekends now, but yeah, I think with some guys they've got the roles figured out. I think sometimes with the younger guys, it's like, okay, let's go here. If somebody's not able to throw strikes. So and, I mean, you guys know, I mean, Rob's not shy about pulling guys if they're not putting it over the plate either.